Hello, and welcome back to Curlington Stories. If you're new here, welcome to you too. Today, I have two very interesting stories, and both of them, there's some parts of them that, I can somewhat kind of relate to, definitely have an understanding for, to say the least. We'll be covering just two stories, both following a similar theme. So the first one, am I the asshole for taking in a family member's white child? Now, I know some of you are scratching your heads wondering, how could you be? What does that even mean? And I 100% respect you if you feel that way. However, I know there are also some people out there, maybe not necessarily watching this video, but they might be thinking something along the lines of, there might be some merit to this. Let's see what this is about. And don't worry, it won't be long before we have that discussion. The second story. Would I be the asshole for telling my African-American friend that she can't gatekeep my culture? Now, cultural appropriation is something I find very interesting. I feel like cultural appreciation and appropriation, there's such a fine line. But it's always, I feel like people that have nothing to do with the culture that tend to be the most upset when they see somebody else representing it who isn't a part of that demographic, which is always an interesting discussion, and it will be a very interesting one today as well. So I hope you all are looking forward to that. Without further ado, let's get into this. So, am I the asshole for taking in a family member's white child? I'm 47, my husband is 50. We have 3 children, 28M, 26M, and 24M. They all live independently. Our 2 oldest are married with kids of their own. We have a good relationship with them, regular contact, and are very involved with our grandkids. We're black. This is relevant to the situation, unfortunately. Honestly, unfortunately is the most correct word that they could have possibly put there, because that's exactly how I feel about this, because the color of their skin in this situation really shouldn't matter at all. But of course, it does. 3 months ago, I was made aware that my white half-sister, who I hadn't spoken to in years, passed away. She was much younger than me, and we were never close due to her living with her dad. Our mom died over a decade ago. She has a 1-year-old daughter, Jane, whose father is not in the picture. We were the only living family willing to take the baby in. It was an easy decision, but not an easy adjustment. Our sons did not have an issue with it and supported the decision. Our daughter, on the other hand, was very indifferent and refused to even see my niece. She dropped her daughter 7 off at our house for the weekend and was angry when she came home with one of my niece's white dolls. She told us that it was bad for her self-image to be playing with dolls that didn't resemble her. I tried to explain that the kids play with dolls with all different colors. A 1-year-old could not care less what shade her Barbies are. It all seemed baseless and out of nowhere, considering our granddaughter adores the baby and helping care for her and playing mom for a bit. We still spend alone time with her too, doing her favorite activities. Now, honestly, this is only going to get exponentially worse from here. I mean, this comment alone was pretty baffling, pretty immature, pretty disgusting. I know there's some people out there that feel some type of way, like the person that is complaining about this is not alone. There are other people that feel that way. I know it, but those feelings are incorrect. Being concerned that your daughter or child of a certain skin tone is playing with dolls of another skin tone is fucking crazy. That's like indoctrinating racism. Because the truth is, nobody is born racist. Nobody is born discerning colors from people, right? Being like, oh, this person's a white person, this person's a black person, this person's Hispanic, or this person's Asian, or whatever. You're not doing that as a child. You just see people as people. It's your parents and the people around you that put those differences in your head and make them seem like something when they're really not. But I'll save the remainder of my thoughts until the end. It turned into a larger argument when she started ranting about how seeing us care for a white child made our granddaughter feel jealous and less important. According to who? Did you ask your daughter that? Did she say that? I really fucking doubt it. I really, really doubt. She's like, they're taking care of a white baby. That makes me feel bad because I'm black, and I feel less cared for because I'm black. Yeah, okay, all right. Apparently, it also hurts my daughter to see us put so much time into raising a white baby. Again, she put emphasis on Jane's race, when we failed our own children so much growing up. I tried to ask what we did wrong because we truly did our best to raise our kids well and provide them all they needed. She started crying about how she felt betrayed and seeing us dote on Jane while she never received that motherly love growing up hurt her. I told her that she wanted to talk about what her childhood might have lacked, that she needed to leave an innocent child and that child's color out of it. She was cold about us taking in Jane from the beginning, and it's manifesting as genuine anger and resentment now. When I brought that up, she cut off the conversation immediately and refused to speak about it. A few days went by after, and she reached out to me letting me know that we would not be allowed to see our granddaughter until we put our real family's needs and well-being first. I told her that the baby is family, and she went dead silent again. I love Jane like she's my own. My husband does as well. My sons see her as another niece, nephew. My daughter is the only one with any problem. Am I the asshole? How do I even rectify the situation without turning the entire family upside down? Edit. I didn't make this clear, but Jane is fully white, not mixed. Her mom, my white half-sister, share the same white mom. I have a black dad. Jane's parents are both white. All right, y'all, I'm about to let the thoughts come raining down. I mean, it goes without saying, obviously, this person is not an asshole. How could you be an asshole for adopting, loving, and taking in a child that was not your own and treating them as your own? That just doesn't make sense. No matter what skin color they are, that shouldn't matter. It's not like Jane chose her fucking skin tone, and because she ended up being white, that she should be treated differently or treated worse because of it. That's just inherent racism coming from this daughter of theirs. Like, honestly, I'm concerned because it seems like these parents here are not racist at all. So how did this happen? Where did the daughter in the picture here go wrong? Where did this racist attitude enter her being and take over her thinking? I just don't understand that. I don't know where it came from. It's very confusing. I'm assuming social media probably did it or something. Spending too much time on SJW Reddit threads or something. I don't know. It's surprising though, because this is like some boy who cried racism shit when it's just not appropriate for this situation. It's pathetic and it's embarrassing to have a child of your own, and then knowing what it's like to have a child of your own and knowing how important it is that that child feel loved and cared for and all of that, and you want to take that away from Jane for what? Absolutely no reason other than your own crybaby problems that you fabricated in your own head. It's very confusing, very perplexing, and I don't quite get it. It's actually like, I'm ashamed to know that there's people like this in my community that act this way. It's just upsetting. I mean, even she's technically like 25% white or something like that because her mom is half white. My wife and I, we don't have any kids. We may someday, we might adopt potentially, who knows? But if we ever did adopt, the color of the skin of the child is not going to matter in any way, shape, or form. That's just not something that ever should matter to people. And I know there's people out there that think that, you know, as one race or another, you shouldn't adopt a child of a different race. That is a real, like, social justice warrior crybaby thing that they actually believe that you shouldn't do that. And it's baffling. It's truly, truly baffling. You know, that's like the exact opposite of inclusion. Like, that's the exact opposite direction that we want to go to when it comes to like racial acceptance and accepting everybody regardless of their background, their DNA, their skin, whatever, you know. We take 2 steps forward, but then we take a step back sometimes, and this is one of those step back situations. But I'm curious what you guys think about it. Please drop your comments below, and we'll look at a couple comments from the thread itself before we move on to the next story. Not the asshole. How can your daughter not see that caring for a child that has lost her mother and has an absent father is much different than being a grandparent to a child who has her parents around caring for her? Race shouldn't be an issue here, but your daughter is making it one in a situation that has nothing to do with it. Yes, it may hurt that your daughter is taking issue with this, but she needs a bop on the side of the head with a reality stick. You may need to let her go with her inappropriate removal of her child from your life for a while until she pulls her head out of her behind, starts to miss you, and be more reasonable about the situation. When she does pull it out, it's very easy to explain to your granddaughter why your half-sister's child has very different circumstances of her own. I'm sure the grandchild will have an easier time understanding that than your daughter has. Now, you know, this person here that responds to this is saying, I don't think the granddaughter actually is feeling jealous. I don't think so either. I'm pretty sure that's something that the original poster's daughter just fabricated to try to manipulate the original poster. Now, there's plenty of people, you know, talking it up to a jealousy thing from the daughter, which I 100% agree with. It definitely seems like this weird, misplaced jealousy that shouldn't exist, and it shouldn't come at the expense of a literal infant, of a literal baby who's innocent as fuck and has never done anything wrong and only deserves to have good parents that will take care of them, love them, and raise them as their own. Also, the story overall is quite sad. I mean, just thinking about the fact that this baby doesn't have her parents in their life, and these grandparents are really, you know, the only people looking out for them. So that's sad, but it is a wonderful thing that they do have them, and it sucks that some asshole's trying to take that away. Anyway, let's move on. Would I be the asshole for telling my African American friend that she can't gatekeep my culture? So I, 26F, am of Asian descent. I won't specify which, just for a little privacy. I have a very diverse group of friends, some white, a lot not. We all hang out and honestly have very few issues apart from the usual ones that friends have occasionally. The problem arose the other day where a video circulated of one of my white male friends has taken some time off work to travel through different parts of Asia. He visited my home country and while there, dressed in some of our cultural clothing while attending some events. Now the clothes are very comfortable and suitable for the climate, and he has continued to wear them on his journey. Context, my culture gets very excited when people want to wear and use our clothing. It makes us feel appreciated, seen, and celebrated. Not only would he have had the full blessing of anyone who he met while in my country, but he also would have had the approval of every person on my community there. The only people who had an issue were some of my African American friends. They were outraged on my behalf. Of course they were. It's the in thing now to be outraged about cultural appropriation for a culture that's not even yours. And it's very common in the African American community, actually. I don't know why. And it's not just us. There's plenty of other people that do that too, but for some reason it does seem to be running rampant in this community. I don't know why for the life of me, but that's just an observation I've made. And left some very insulting comments on his video in our friend's chat. When I clarified my culture's views and my personal ones, most of them calmed down and apologized. One girl, however, won't stop. She calls him a colonizer, full of white privilege, and keeps assuming the right to tell him he can't wear the items despite any comments otherwise. Would I be the asshole for telling her bluntly to drop the subject and that I find her outrage and hatred more offensive than my male friend wearing the clothes? Now we're just gonna finish the story, including the updates, and then I'll give my opinion on it. Update. Firstly, thank you all for the replies and support. It was all most appreciated. Sorry if I've not replied to your comments or messages. There's been a lot. Those using it as an excuse to air aggressive views towards her ethnicity, I'm sorry, but that's not the purpose of this post, not what I'm looking for. Now to the update. I met her in person last night. We sat and talked about the situation and my culture's views. She did promise to stop her comments, but thought I was being extremely naive about my attitude to our mutual friend. Overall, it wasn't a very productive conversation as she brushed off the concept of my country encouraging the sharing of our culture and said that our view of white people was unrealistic. I mentioned that we'd had our own versions of appropriation issues and aggression from many cultures. That also was brushed aside as though it had no bearing. I'm not sure I'll continue my friendship with her, as it does seem to be more of a deep-seated hatred. Yeah, no, it does sound like your friend here is just like somebody that hates white people and is using the veil of cultural appropriation as a vehicle for expressing that hatred. That seems to be precisely what's happened. This person is a piece of shit. So it goes without saying, obviously original poster, not an asshole. You tell this bitch off. That's what I would do. I would put her in her goddamn place. I'd be like, yo, you stupid bitch. This cultural appropriation nonsense that you're using is nothing to do with you. It's not even your place to be gatekeeping somebody else's culture. You're just doing this to stroke your own ego and to hate on the white man because for some reason you still feel like the white man is out to get you. You know, that's how I would fucking put it, to be honest with you. But, you know, alas, I don't know the intricacies of this person's mind, so I don't know how they feel and think about this on a very deep level, just from the surface off of what I've gathered. Now, it goes without saying, cultural appropriation is oftentimes one of the dumbest things ever, the concept of it, because people will call cultural appropriation literally something just like you read here, where they're celebrating somebody's culture, they're respecting it, and they're showing appreciation towards it by embodying it themselves. My wife has received Indian clothing from her friends that, you know, they expect her to wear sometimes, you know, but she never has because, you know, fear of cultural appropriation being a part of that, you know, people feel that way. If they caught my white wife wearing some Indian clothes, they'd be like, oh, she's appropriating their culture, she's a colonizer, what a piece of shit, fuck her, which is just bizarre. Culture is meant to be shared. And I don't understand why people don't recognize that. There's a lot of people that just really do appreciate certain things that come from certain cultures. For me, I think there's a lot of wonderful things in like Native American culture that I have a great appreciation for. One of my friend's wives is Native American, and she has literally made me things that represent her culture that I have worn proudly because I have so much appreciation for it, and I think all of that stuff is fucking beautiful. And there's plenty of people that feel that way about other cultures all over the world, and just because you don't belong to that group doesn't mean that you can't participate in those things. Now, this is a common discussion, right? Where people feel certain ways about like white people wearing braids and stuff, and that sparked a whole debate. Be like, oh, only black people can wear braids. Like, shut the fudge up. That is not true. That is dumb as hell. Not to mention that. But braids didn't originate in Africa as far as we know. In fact, documentation, at least as far as we can see, white people were wearing braids of a different type before black people were. Now, there's no concrete evidence that that is for certain the case, but that is just what documentation is showing us right now. So either way, shut the hell up, you're wrong. But even if you weren't wrong, it's still stupid. You should be able to wear your hair however you want. Now, there is a such thing as cultural appropriation, I'm sure, but like I said, it's a fine line. Like, if you're doing it in a mocking way, like, you know, if somebody goes around dresses like a Zulu, is, you know, they make their lips look really big and they're just parading themselves around trying to act like a monkey, and you know what I mean? And they're like whacking people with spears, like, yeah, you might have a problem there. That's not being respectful. And that's really where you draw the boundary. It's, are you being respectful, or are you being an asshole? Are you being a dick face, or are you showing off the culture with pride and dignity? And that's what matters more than anything. Now, as per usual, pick out a couple comments and then wrap things up. And I definitely want to know what you guys think, so please be sure to leave your thoughts in the comments. There's a distinction that people forget. Appropriation is more of a misuse of another person's culture. Appreciation is applying proper considerations and respect. Which is pretty much exactly what I said. Not the asshole Asian here too. I think people who grew up in America and people who live in their own country have a different view of cultural appropriation. People in Asia, especially South Asia, love when tourists try out their clothing or food or music or festivals. They're most accepting of it as long as the tourists don't have a superiority complex or something. For us, it isn't cultural appropriation. Sharing your culture or immersing yourself into another one without being judgmental or acting like you discovered it is the whole point of travel. Exactly. Cultural appreciation. Dude, seriously, like, sharing cultures is one of the greatest ways to bring people together. And I have such a strong appreciation for cultures of all different kinds all over the world. And I show my appreciation in a plethora of different ways. I mean, I'm not Irish, but here's an Irish snow globe that I enjoy. Here's another one. There's another one, and this one's a little bit harder to show because it's you know, attached to a cable, a very short one, but it's also another like Irish snow globe kind of thing. And no, before you guys say it, my wife is not Irish at all, so that has nothing to do with that. I just think like the good luck charms, the whole luck of the Irish thing and all that stuff, I just think it's cool. And I appreciate it. But yeah, that's just one of many examples. But anyway, like I said, I want to know what you guys think. Please leave your comments down below. Until next time.